Hello, my dear friend. Welcome back to Books and More, where we carefully distill the essence of great literature, helping you save your precious time while ensuring you grasp the core values that truly matter. In the relentless rush of our daily lives, it is often difficult to find a moment of stillness. We rush from one task to another, sometimes forgetting to pause, to breathe, and to deeply understand the invisible forces that shape our reality. Today, I invite you to slow down and explore a truly fascinating narrative with Currency Wars Part 3. This book is not merely a history of money, it is a revelation of the hidden battles that have determined the fate of nations. It invites us to look at the history of modern China through a completely different lens. Have you ever wondered why the Opium Wars occurred specifically in China and not elsewhere? How does the control of currencies silently dictate the rise and fall of a dynasty? And what exactly is the financial high frontier that a sovereign nation must defend to survive? Exploring these questions is not just about learning history, it is about gaining the wisdom to see our current world with clearer eyes. I hope that as you listen, you feel a sense of companionship and clarity. We are on this journey of growth together, finding strength and understanding one page at a time. May you find peace and profound insight in the story that follows. Let us begin our journey now. Preface. Back in early 2014, I watched as the United States Federal Reserve began pulling back from 5 years of easy money policies. The global economy was facing a massive shift in its financial environment. Since the financial crisis, cheap dollars had flooded the world, creating debt bubbles and inflating assets in many countries. However, the underlying problems that caused the crisis had not been truly fixed. As the Fed hit the brakes on this monetary expansion, emerging markets woke up from their dreams of endless wealth to face the harsh reality of heavy debts, crashing stock markets, and currency devaluation. A new storm was approaching, and it became clear to me that simply printing money does not solve problems. In fact, it creates them. There is a saying that while countries have borders, money does not. Nations that dominate the global currency system can control capital costs and influence the prosperity and security of others. Currency is never a neutral economic factor. The power to issue money is one of the greatest powers in human society because controlling money means controlling wealth, resources, and people. When I look at Chinese history, I notice that currency is often overshadowed by politics, culture, and military feats. We know the stories of emperors and generals, but the role of money is often forgotten. I wrote this book to unveil modern Chinese history through the specific lens of currency. This perspective acts like a developing fluid for a photograph, revealing hidden details in familiar historical events. I explore questions such as why the Opium War happened specifically in China, why Japan's Meiji Restoration succeeded while China's efforts failed, and why the nationalist currency collapsed while the Renminbi rose. These historical puzzles forced me to think deeply about the power of issuing money. I developed a concept I call the financial frontier. Just as a sovereign nation must defend its land, sea, and airspace, finance represents a fourth frontier that is critical to national security. This frontier is built upon central banks, financial networks, trading markets, and clearing centers. The goal of this system is to ensure the efficiency and safety of a nation's wealth. This concept is vital when we consider the future internationalization of the renminbi. Sending our currency overseas is not enough. We need a robust system to monitor and manage it. Wherever our currency circulates, our national interests are at stake. Throughout this narrative, silver serves as a recurring theme. For centuries, silver was the lifeblood of the Chinese economy and a true world currency. I believe that as the dollar faces long-term decline, silver acts as both a crucial industrial metal and a valuable financial asset that has historically been undervalued. My goal in studying this monetary history is to understand our current reality. The fate of a currency ultimately represents the fate of a nation, and by seeing where money has been, we can better understand where the world is going.
Part 1: The Financial Frontier and the Destiny of Nations. I have come to realize that finance is actually the fourth dimension of a nation's sovereign borders, standing right alongside land, sea, and air. This concept, which I call the financial high frontier, is the invisible shield that protects a country's wealth and future. When I look back at the modern history of China and Japan, it becomes painfully clear that the divergent fates of these two neighbors were not merely decided on the battlefield, but were predetermined by who held the keys to their own monetary systems. Let us look at the tragedy of Hu Shuaiyan to understand how China lost this frontier. He was the wealthiest merchant in the late Qing dynasty, a man of immense capability who tried to break the foreign monopoly on silk pricing. He rallied silk farmers and tried to hold out for a fair price against Western trading houses, but he failed spectacularly. His failure was not due to a lack of business acumen, but because he was fighting a war without ammunition. He had no control over the money supply. When the foreign banks, particularly HSBC, decided to tighten the credit lines, the liquidity in the market dried up. Hu Shuaiyan was strangled by a lack of cash flow. The true architects of this financial collapse were not just the foreigners, but the comprador class within China, exemplified by the Shi family of the Dongting Mountain faction. These compradors acted as the bridge for foreign capital to penetrate and control the Chinese economy. They managed the affairs of foreign banks, ensuring that the financial arteries of China were pumped by a heart located in London. The establishment of HSBC in Shanghai was a pivotal moment. It functioned effectively as a foreign-run central bank on Chinese soil, issuing currency and controlling interest rates. The Qing government, blind to the power of finance, allowed its sovereign right to issue money to slip away. The Opium War itself was not just about drug trade, it was a currency war, a calculated assault to drain China of its silver reserves and force it into the British gold standard orbit. By losing its silver, China lost its economic blood, leading to deflation and the collapse of the rural economy. Now cast your eyes across the sea to Japan. They face the exact same Western warships and the same threats of colonization, yet their story ended differently. The success of the Meiji Restoration, compared to the failure of China's self-strengthening movement, lies in the defense of the financial frontier. The Japanese leaders, men like Inoue Kaoru and Ito Hirobumi, understood what the Qing officials did not. They knew that to build a modern army and industry, you first need a modern financial system that serves the nation, not foreign interests. In Japan, there was no powerful comprador class to sell out the country. Instead, there were nationalistic zaibatsu like the Mitsui family. When the shogunate fell and the Emperor Meiji rose to power, it was Mitsui money that funded the new government. This alliance between the imperial power and domestic financial capital was crucial. They did not rely on foreign loans to survive. Instead, they mobilized domestic savings.
Japan moved quickly to establish a unified currency, the yen, and created the Bank of Japan to act as a true central bank. They did not let foreign banks like HSBC dominate their economy. A prime example of their financial wisdom was the creation of the Yokohama Specie Bank. This institution was designed specifically to support Japanese exports and regain pricing power in international trade. When Japanese silk merchants faced the same pressure that Hu Shuaiyan did, the Yokohama Specie Bank stepped in with low-interest loans, allowing them to hold their inventory and dictate terms to foreign buyers. This is how they protected their industry. The contrast is stark when we look at the industrial efforts of both nations. China Han Ye-ping Steel Company, a symbol of the self-strengthening movement, failed because it was starved of capital and forced to rely on predatory loans from Japan, eventually falling under Japanese control. The Qing government had no mechanism to convert its national resources into financial credit. In contrast, Japan used its financial system to pump credit into strategic industries, railroads, and the military. They turned future tax revenues and industrial output into current capital through bonds and bank credit. This history teaches us that the ultimate weapon of a great power is not just its guns, but its currency. Japan succeeded because it kept the right to issue its own money and controlled its financial networks. China failed because it allowed its financial sovereignty to be fractured by foreign powers and eroded by domestic compradors. By the time the Qing dynasty fell, the country was not just militarily defeated, but financially hollowed out. The lesson I want to impart is that without a secure financial frontier, without a sovereign banking system that serves the national interest, no amount of industrial or military effort can save a nation from becoming a vassal to those who control the flow of money. This was the hidden war that defined the destiny of East Asia.
Part 2. Money and the Gun: The Financial Origins of the Civil War. I have often pondered the true nature of power during the turbulent years of the Chinese Civil War, and realized that behind the smoke of gunpowder lay the invisible hand of currency. When we look back at the northern expedition led by Chiang Kai-shek, we see a military campaign that was initially fueled by the Soviet Union. It is a historical fact, often overlooked, that Moscow provided nearly 30 million rubles to support the Kuomintang. This financial injection was the lifeblood of the early revolution, yet it came with strings attached that Chiang found increasingly unbearable. He wanted to be the Caesar of China, not a puppet of the Comintern, and to achieve this, he needed a new patron. This desire for independence from Soviet influence drove Chiang into the arms of the Shanghai financial clique. I see the pivotal moment in late 1926 when Chiang stood at a crossroads in Nanchang. He was militarily successful, but financially destitute. It was then that the Shanghai tycoon Yu Shaoqing, representing the powerful Jiangsu and Zhejiang financial syndicates, arrived with a proposition. They offered Chiang 60 million silver dollars, a sum that dwarfed Soviet aid. However, this money was not a donation, it was a purchase fee. The price Chiang had to pay was a complete break from the Communists and the Soviet Union. The tragic coup of April 12th in Shanghai was not merely a political purge, it was the execution of a financial contract. Chiang paid his debt in blood, betraying his former allies to secure the backing of the comprador class and the foreign powers standing behind them. I observe that Chiang thought he could control these financiers, but in reality, he became their instrument. His marriage to Sung Mei-ling was a strategic merger, linking his military power with the financial influence of the Sung family and their American connections. Yet, despite his efforts to centralize power, Chiang failed to establish a sovereign financial border. His government remained dependent on foreign loans and the whims of the Shanghai bankers. The financial chaos that ensued, with rampant inflation and the eventual collapse of his currency, was the inevitable result of a regime that served the interests of a few wealthy families rather than the nation itself. In stark contrast to the comprador finance of the Kuomintang, I find the financial experiments of the Chinese communists in their remote base areas to be nothing short of miraculous. Without gold, silver, or foreign aid, the Red Army faced a desperate economic blockade. Here we meet figures like Mao Zemin, who established the National Bank of the Chinese Soviet Republic with almost zero capital. They faced a crisis of confidence where people rushed to exchange paper money for silver, but they solved it with ingenuity. I recount the story of the empty fort strategy, where they publicly displayed their limited reserves to restore calm.
proving that psychology is as important as capital in banking. What truly fascinates me is their creation of a goods standard system. Lacking precious metals, they backed their currency with essential commodities like salt, grain, and tungsten. This was a revolutionary concept that predated modern economic theories. They understood that money is ultimately a claim on labor and goods. By controlling strategic resources like tungsten, which was vital for global military production, they managed to break the nationalist blockade and earn precious revenue. They turned salt into a weapon, using price differentials between enemy-occupied territories and their own zones to profit and protect the livelihood of the peasants. I am particularly struck by the discipline and integrity of the Red financial system. When the Red Army occupied Zunyi, they issued their own currency to purchase supplies. But unlike the looting often associated with warlords, they set up exchange points to redeem every single note for silver or goods before they marched on. This act alone established a credit rating that gold could not buy. It won the hearts of the people. While Chiang Kai-shek engaged in currency reform that robbed the middle class and fueled hyperinflation, the communists were building a financial system rooted in the real economy and the welfare of the common people. Ultimately, I see two distinct paths. Chiang Kai-shek chose the path of dependent finance, relying on foreign powers and compradors, which led to the loss of financial sovereignty and economic collapse. The communists chose the path of independent finance, anchoring their currency to material goods and the trust of the people. This financial warfare was as decisive as any military battle. The collapse of the gold yuan marked the end of the Qing dynasty just as surely as the loss of any city. The rise of the Renminbi was not just a change in currency, it was the establishment of a new financial border that would eventually secure the independence of the nation. The history of this period teaches us that he who holds the gun must also hold the purse, but more importantly, he must ensure that the purse serves the people. When I look back at the turbulent years leading up to the Second World War in East Asia, I see a desperate scramble for control, not just over territory and armies, but over the very flow of money itself. In China, Chiang Kai-shek had achieved military supremacy, yet he quickly realized that holding the gun was meaningless if someone else held the purse strings. The financial heart of China beat in Shanghai, controlled by the powerful Jiangze banking clique and independent bankers like Zhang Zhaao of the Bank of China. These men wanted financial independence and stability, while Chiang demanded absolute obedience to fund his endless military campaigns. It was a clash that would fundamentally reshape the destiny of the nation. I observed how Chiang, utilizing his powerful brothers-in-law T.V. Sung and H.H. Kung, systematically dismantled the independence of the private banking sector. The turning point came in 1935. Through forced recapitalization and immense political pressure, the nationalist government seized control of the Bank of China and the Bank of Communications. They created a centralized system dominated by the four big banks. This was not merely a financial reform for the good of the state. It marked the solidification of bureaucratic capitalism. The four big families, Cheng, Sung, Kung, and Chen, effectively merged their private interests with the national treasury, turning the country's financial system into a tool for their own power and enrichment. However, this internal consolidation was driven by a massive external shock. The United States, under President Roosevelt, had launched a silver purchasing program to satisfy domestic political interests. This policy acted like a giant vacuum, sucking the silver lifeblood out of China. Silver flowed out of Shanghai at an alarming rate, causing severe deflation and bringing the Chinese economy to the brink of collapse. We had no choice but to abandon the silver standard that had anchored our economy for centuries. The currency reform of 1935, which replaced silver with a fiat legal tender pegged to the British pound and the US dollar, was a desperate move for survival. Yet this decision had catastrophic geopolitical consequences. To the Japanese military, seeing China peg its currency to the West was the ultimate betrayal and an intolerable provocation. I remain convinced that this financial pivot was the final spark that accelerated Japan's decision to launch a full-scale invasion of China. Across the sea in Japan, a different but equally ruthless battle for financial control was unfolding. While Chiang fought Chinese bankers to consolidate his dictatorship, Emperor Hirohito was quietly maneuvering to reclaim authority from the powerful zaibatsu and the political oligarchs who had effectively run the country since the Meiji era. These financial conglomerates, like Mitsui and Mitsubishi, were interested in profits and often favored peaceful trade over military adventurism. They stood in the way of the emperor's vision of a militarized empire. I found the political maneuvering in Japan to be terrifyingly brilliant. The emperor and his inner circle set a trap, using the greed of these financial titans against them. When Britain abandoned the gold standard, the zaibatsu, acting on inside information and political tips, speculated heavily against the yen, buying up US dollars. They made enormous profits, but in doing so, they walked right into a political ambush. When the news broke, they were branded as traitors who sold out their country for profit during a national crisis. This loss of public trust destroyed their political capital and allowed military extremists to unleash a wave of terror. The subsequent assassinations of moderate politicians and bankers were not random acts of violence. They were the death knell of Japan's civilian government. By crushing the moral authority and political power of the zaibatsu, the military, loyal to the emperor, took control of the economy. The financial resources of the nation were redirected from commerce to the war machine. Thus, in both China and Japan, the centralization of financial power became the prelude to total war. In China, it led to a corrupt regime that eventually lost the support of its people. In Japan, it paved the way for fascism and destruction. Money, I have found, is never neutral. It is the ultimate weapon of political will. Part 4. The Fall of Legal Tender and the Rise of the Renminbi. As I trace the collapse of the nationalist government in Nanjing, it becomes clear that their failure was not just military, but fundamentally financial. The currency reform of 1935, while unifying the monetary system, inadvertently accelerated the Japanese invasion and placed China's financial sovereignty in the hands of foreign powers. When the full-scale war broke out, the depletion of foreign exchange reserves forced Chiang Kai-shek to rely heavily on loans from Britain and the United States. The establishment of the Stabilization Fund essentially created a second central bank, one where foreign powers dictated the terms. This loss of the financial border was catastrophic, yet the internal rot was even more devastating. I observed how the four big families utilized their political power to plunder national wealth. During the war, the United States provided a massive $500 million loan intended to stabilize the economy and boost morale. Instead, this capital became a tool for the elite to hoard wealth. Key figures like H.H. Kung and T.V. Sung manipulated the bond markets and foreign exchange regulations for personal gain, leading to a situation where the general populace suffered while the elite prospered. Even Harry Truman later expressed his disgust, labeling them as thieves who stole from the American aid meant for the Chinese people. The situation deteriorated further after the victory against Japan. The liberation of occupied territories became an opportunity for looting, as the exchange rate between the legal tender and the puppet currency was set at an exploitative level, stripping the wealth of ordinary citizens. The final blow to the nationalist economy was the disastrous gold yuan reform in 1948. Ostensibly designed to curb hyperinflation, it effectively confiscated the gold, silver, and foreign currency savings of the middle class. When the gold yuan collapsed within months, it took the remaining support for the regime with it. Interestingly, the architect behind some of these erratic financial policies was Ji Chaoding, a brilliant economist who was operating deep undercover for the Communist Party. His policy recommendations, while seemingly logical to the corrupt nationalist leadership, strategically accelerated the economic disintegration of the regime, proving that financial warfare can be as lethal as any battlefield engagement. In stark contrast to this financial chaos, I looked at the rise of the currency in the communist-based areas. Without gold reserves or foreign recognition, the communist financial leaders had to innovate. Starting from scratch in the Soviet areas, figures like Mao Zemin established the national bank with almost no capital. They realized a profound truth, that money does not necessarily need to be backed by gold, but can be anchored to essential goods. They implemented a goods standard, linking their currency to daily necessities like salt, grain, and cotton, as well as strategic resources like tungsten. By controlling these essential commodities, they ensured the purchasing power of their currency and maintained the trust of the peasantry. I found their pragmatism remarkable. When faced with economic blockades, they engaged in secret trade with enemy warlords, exchanging tungsten for salt and medicine. They understood that in a war for survival, economic circulation was the bloodline of the revolution.
The ultimate test of this new financial system came after the liberation of Shanghai. The Communist Party faced a hostile financial environment dominated by speculators who believed they could manipulate the market at will. The initial battle was over silver dollars, which speculators used to undermine the new renminbi. The new government responded with a swift crackdown, raiding the stock exchange and arresting the ringleaders, thereby removing silver from circulation. However, the speculators did not give up and shifted their focus to grain and cotton, attempting to drive up prices to create chaos. This led to a sophisticated economic counterattack led by Chen Yun. Instead of relying solely on administrative orders, the government quietly amassed vast reserves of grain and cotton from across the country. When prices peaked, they flooded the market with these goods, breaking the backs of the speculators and stabilizing prices. This victory was not just about controlling inflation, it established the credibility of the renminbi. The most crucial lesson I drew from this era was the importance of independent financial sovereignty. Unlike the nationalist legal tender, which was pegged to the British pound and later the US dollar, the renminbi was deliberately kept independent. It was not pegged to any foreign currency or precious metal. This decision insulated China's economy from external shocks and prevented foreign powers from manipulating its value. The leaders of the new China understood that a currency must serve the development of the domestic economy and the livelihood of its people, rather than the interests of a privileged few or foreign creditors. This establishment of a secure financial border was the foundation upon which the new nation would eventually build its economic strength. Part 5. Future Strategy: RMB Internationalization and the Return of Silver. In today's world, the smoke of currency wars has not yet cleared, and the distant drums of battle are far from ceasing. Looking into the future, as the US dollar continues to weaken under the weight of insurmountable debt, we are entering a chaotic era reminiscent of the Warring States period, but on a global monetary scale. Currency conflict is becoming the new normal of the world economy, and we must be prepared. The current predicament of the renminbi lies in the fact that our currency issuance mechanism has effectively become dollarized.
We rely too heavily on foreign exchange reserves as the anchor for printing money, which means we are importing American inflation and tying our fate to a declining asset. The supreme principle of any currency must be to serve the people. This requires a major innovation in how we issue money. I propose a broad price standard, where the value of the renminbi is not pegged to the dollar, but is instead anchored to the stability of prices for the goods, assets, and services that our people actually need and use. By doing this, we can decouple from the dollar and protect our wealth from the turbulence of international currency devaluation. For the renminbi to break through the encirclement and truly go global, we must establish a comprehensive strategy for what I call the financial frontier. Internationalizing a currency is not simply about letting money flow out of the country. Wherever the renminbi goes, our national interest follows, and that creates a new frontier that must be monitored and managed. We need to ensure that our money can be issued, circulate, and return to us safely. To achieve this, we must build our own independent financial infrastructure. Just as the internet relies on routers, the financial world relies on payment and clearing systems. If we continue to rely solely on Western systems like SWIFT, every transaction we make is visible to foreign powers, exposing our economic secrets and vulnerabilities. We must construct an independent global payment network to act as the router for our currency, ensuring security and efficiency. Furthermore, we should not rely solely on large state-owned banks to expand our reach. We possess a unique asset in the millions of Chinese entrepreneurs scattered across the globe. By empowering them to provide financial services, we can create a vast decentralized network similar to the historic Shanxi merchants or the Jewish banking networks. This grassroots approach will allow the renminbi to take root deeply in local economies around the world. While we secure the future of our paper currency, we must also look back at the history of real money, specifically silver. For centuries, silver was the primary currency of the world, and China was its ultimate destination. However, in modern history, the monetary role of silver has been deliberately suppressed by Western powers and major international banks. They have used the futures market to sell massive amounts of paper silver that does not physically exist, creating a distorted price structure that hides the true value of this precious metal. This suppression serves to prop up the fiat dollar system by making real money look less attractive. But the laws of supply and demand cannot be cheated forever. Unlike gold, which is mostly hoarded in vaults, silver is being consumed by industry at an astonishing rate. From solar energy and medical applications to electronics and RFID chips, silver is an indispensable material for the modern world. The current reserves of silver are critically low, and mining production cannot keep up with this exploding industrial demand. We are witnessing a massive disconnect, where the paper price of silver is kept low by manipulation while the physical supply is running out. This creates a coiled spring effect. As the US dollar continues its long-term devaluation due to reckless money printing and debt monetization, investors will inevitably flee back to hard assets. Gold is the king, but silver is the undervalued queen. The historical price ratio between gold and silver has been severely distorted, and a correction is inevitable. I believe that silver presents one of the greatest investment opportunities of our time. It is not just a commodity, it is a strategic asset. As we move forward, we must see through the fog of financial manipulation. By establishing an independent financial frontier for the renminbi and recognizing the true monetary value of silver, we can protect our national wealth and secure our economic future in this turbulent era of currency wars.